Yes, let's check out what's going on with regard to jobless claims. 197,000. That's once again under 200,000, which was expected. And last month's 187 becomes 188 as we continue to hover in numbers that really were the late 60s. 197, though, of course, does comp. We've had some numbers.
Okay, always be very suspicious about the jobs reports because they're reading from the U6 rate that the Bureau of Labor Statistics publishes, the U3 rather, not the U6. The U6 is a more all-encompassing jobless or employment report. It includes people who have stopped looking for work. Okay, the other thing with these jobless reports is you think that what they're doing is taking a survey of everyone who has received an unemployment check in the last month, right? Tallying that up and giving you a exact percentage of the people who are not working based on the unemployment check. That's not how it works, actually. How it works is people, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, rather, they take a survey of about 6,000 Americans. Okay. Not a lot of people at all. So understand that. Also understand that when it comes to unemployment, the other thing you have to look at is how many people have two full-time jobs, how many people have a full-time job and a part-time job. When you see that, that is not a good indicator of the economy. That's saying that that inflation piece is causing folk to have to go out there and have more than one job just in order to make ends meet.
Numbers in that area. 197 would take us to the last week in April when it was.
I'm just going to let him go on while we wait for people to come in. We're going to get to the GDP. We're going to get to some other issues. Recession is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. It is actually an opportunity to make some money. When you see the people clap at the end of the trading day on Wall Street, notice how they clap, whether the market is up or down. It's because they always make money. We're just going to let this play out. Come on in. Let me know where you're joining from. Put a comment in the chat, and we will start the stream officially in a few minutes here.
190. These are unbelievably contained numbers. And once again, I'm not sure how much info it gives us. Probably a lot of fraud taken out of these programs over the last year. Continuing claims under 1.8 million, 1,782,000. Once again, these numbers continue to be well behaved. We've been now below 1.8 million since the
Rockhouse Alex, good to see you guys. I'm glad you're here.
The middle of June. Let's go to personal income and spending for June. Up 0.2 on income, a little light. We're expecting up 0.3. Up 0.2 is actually the lightest. Well, not long. It was unchanged in April. And remember, we're coming off up 0.7 on income.
Actually, guys, this is a live stream. I know we haven't had one in quite some time. I was a little busy running for lieutenant governor of the state of Maryland. We were not successful in our bid. Ed Hale was the gentleman running for governor. And in Maryland, you have to run as a ticket. Places like California, Virginia, they run their lieutenant governor and governor separate. But in Maryland, you have to run as a ticket. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to run with a very successful businessman in Maryland and beyond, Ed Hale, who has made a lot of money and had a lot of success in shipping, logistics, owns a professional soccer team, real estate development, and banking. And he picked me to run as his lieutenant governor. We were heavy on the economy, trying to show people that we could restore affordability in Maryland by bringing government under control in this state and helping industry. And when I say help, removing red tape to allow industry to build. They want to build more electricity generating capacity in our state. Our current governor, Democrat Wes Moore, is fixated with wind and solar, which only provide 5.5% of our capacity here in the state of Maryland. And our bills here are out of this world. You would not believe. Seniors have testified before the Baltimore City Council saying that they have to make a decision because they're on a fixed income between paying the gas and electric bill, food, or medication. They can't do all three. That's how bad it is. So Ed Hale and I were running. We got 77,000 votes. Okay, we came in second place, but this is not horseshoes, and second place doesn't count. The person that ultimately got it got 88,000 votes. So for two guys that have never run before, and we were new to the game, we feel we did pretty well. Okay. So that's where I've been. That's why the live streams have not been here. Alex says, I really wanted to see you as lieutenant governor and a financial advisor. Well, a lot of people glommed onto the campaign. Like I said, we got 77,000 votes. The other thing that we felt, and we were doing good at this, we were attracting. See, Maryland is a solid blue state. Okay. Democrats outnumber Republicans just over 2-1. Here's an interesting fact. We ran as Republican. I'm conservative Republican. However, we were seen as the moderate choice because the guy that ultimately got the nomination is this guy is MAGA all the way. Now in Maryland, you can't lead with that. You just can't do it. This is a deep blue state. He actually lost to Wes Moore in 2022. So now Wes Moore is an incumbent, right? With a lot of national attention, a lot of money flowing into his coffers. So we were mystified by that, but the people have spoken. Nonetheless, though, we still are working to educate people on how this state needs to can dig itself out of this crisis. We are the second least affordable state in the union. Can you believe that? All right. Yes, Alex, more people need to focus on the economy. We definitely, that was our thing. That was what we were talking about. I got asked questions about, media asked me questions about, say, abortion, that whole issue. And in the state of Maryland, they did a constitutional amendment in this state to codify abortion. It is law. And so my response to this question, are you going to work to change the constitutional? I said, listen, the economy cuts across all demographics. I don't care who you're sleeping with. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what religion you are. Everybody needs the economy to be doing better. Right now, we have an affordability state of emergency in this state. Okay, this is what I'm saying on the news. The abortion issue in the state has been decided. I personally am pro-life, which means that, if I won't say me because my wife and we're not having any kids anytime soon. So let's just say I'm 20 years old, right? And I'm pro-life, all right? And I'm not married or whatever, and some young lady gets pregnant. Well, I'm pro-life, so that means I would not, agree to having an abortion, okay? Just because the law codifies it doesn't mean I have to do it. So I said that in so many words, and we just kept bringing it back to the economy. All right. People are moving out of our state in droves because they just can't afford to live here. All right. Oh, great. Alex, thank you for that, for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Rockhouse. Yes, I am back. Rockhouse says, I was worried that the spaceships had snatched you up. Not yet. Not yet. They haven't gotten me yet. All right. So let's see, what time is it? All right, we're 2 on the dot. Look, let's jump into it. Okay. First, let's take a look at this. I always say money flows where it's treated best, right? All right. So check this out. Fresh college grads face New York City's toughest rental market yet as asking prices surge to 7-year high. A studio apartment in New York City is going to set you back $3,116 a year. Studio, okay? Now, all right, New York's got its set of issues because we got 8 million people confined in a limited amount of space. They got to build up. Space is at a premium. I get all that, right? But a lot of the policies that we're seeing in New York City are not helping the situation, okay? Um, and I've got a video, a uploaded video on the channel today talking about another initiative of Zorhan Mamdani, which is this city-owned grocery store thing. Watch that when you get a chance. So a person, a college student, okay, and this surprised me because they're saying that college students, I guess it depends on your major, which makes sense. Some of these people, like if you have a degree in computer science, okay, a degree in computer science will earn approximately $98,000 annually in New York City. That's damn good for somebody just coming out of college, I think, right? Computer science, that's a hardcore degree, right? It's not underwater basket weaving. It's not Afro-American lesbian studies or something like that, right? It's a real degree. 98 grand. All right. Sounds good, right? And it is good. But if you move to New York and you start making that money, consider this. Housing is going to set you back $37,392 a year. That's minimum for a studio apartment, okay? Then when you account for federal, state, and local taxation, you're going to set back another $27,000. At the end of the day, on paper, you make 98 grand after housing and taxes, not eating, okay? Not utilities, okay, if you have to pay that, not parking or transportation, fare. At the end of the day, you're going to bring home $33,608. Okay? You're not going to be living like Sex in the City, right? Glamorous life. You're not going to be living that for sure. Okay? Now, understand this. Hit the thumbs up too, guys, for me, please. We got to revive the live streams. I've been out for a long time, and the algorithm needs a gentle massage. All right, so now we see this report up on screen. Money flows where it's treated best. Okay. We see this report up on screen. Millennials and Gen Z are flocking to Dallas Fort Worth, according to a recent U-Haul report. Oh, okay. Now, why would they be going down there to Dallas Fort Worth? Well, money flows where it's treated best, quite frankly. And let's see, where is my report on Dallas? Dallas. Hold on, guys. Oh, here it is. I'm looking at it. Oh, no, that's that one. Okay, I seem to have misplaced the Dallas report, but I have the Dallas numbers. Okay. All right, so Dallas, that same 98 grand, right? Taxes. Well, your taxes in Dallas, Texas are going to be $21,825. $21,825 taxation on 98 grand. And that's coming from the feds, okay? Because Texas doesn't have a state income tax. All right. So you're able to save, let's see, $5,000 right off the bat just with taxes. Okay. Housing, studio apartment. This person's fresh out of college, studio apartment. Housing's going to set them back $1,250 a month or $15,000 a year. We were looking at close to $40,000 a year in New York City. All right, so I did add it up. Hold on. So at the end of the day, you're going to walk away. This is how much better Texas is going to treat you than New York. Okay, Dallas Fort Worth is going to treat you a lot better economically than New York City. All right, so hold on, I did that wrong. Bear with me for a second, guys. Let's see. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the thumbs up so that we can let folk know that we're here after a hiatus that we had due to my short stint of running for statewide office here in Maryland. It was fun too, guys. Got to see a lot of the state. All right, so you make 98 grand with taxation and housing. At the end of the day, guess what? You got 33 grand, $33,608 in New York City. In Dallas, you make 98 grand. After housing and taxation, you're walking away with $61,175. It's a hell of a difference. Okay. Money flows where it's treated best. I'm just not a New York City guy. Okay. It's too crowded for me. So I wouldn't want to be up there in any event. Okay, Alex, yes, I can talk about that. All right, so that's it. We lost, right? The election. Hey, Deb, how you doing? So we lost the election. However, what Ed and I have committed to do, and actually a lot of people that were on our staff, we've committed to keep things going because we're serious about restoring affordability. Now, we would have had vested power to make legislative change had we gone on and taken the top spot in November. And we could have done that. And I'm going to tell you how in a moment. But we don't believe that you need to be elected in order to exercise influence. So what Alex is talking about is we shifted and now we are operating what we call the Hale Keys Economic Coalition, where we are pushing for policies. And I mean, we're being very assertive about this. We're pushing for policies that put money back in the pockets of the hardworking taxpayers of this state. Okay. Now, how does that look? Well, we're more concerned with our mission than we are with making friends. So, for example, the Maryland GOP, some changes need to be made in that organization in terms of leadership, because here's an interesting factoid. Let me tell you the extent to which Republicans are on the ropes here in the state of Maryland. You know, Republicans are the third largest affiliation in terms of voter registration in Maryland. There are more independents / unaffiliateds than there are Republicans. Republicans, that's a third tier affiliation in this state. And that situation is getting worse. Now, it is also true that Democrats are also losing to unaffiliated and independent, but at a slower rate. And their numbers are so big in the state to begin with that it has not made much of a difference. Okay. So when you've got a Maryland GOP that is still out here engaging in, going back and forth over the results of the 2020 election, okay, going hard into social issues and outright ignoring the economic crisis that people are feeling to such an extent. You got two types of people in the state of Maryland right now. You have those who are thinking about leaving and can do it. Either they have the resources, they have the mobility. So you take someone who works remotely, you can work anywhere, right? As long as there's internet connection. Why would they work here and get taxed and feed into oblivion. So you got the people that want to do it and can do it. And then you have people who want to do it but can't because they're locked in thanks to their job, their business, all right, or lack of resources. Okay. When states, governments are basically businesses, right? The constituency out here, the taxpayers, we are the customers. When you see your customers getting up in droves and leaving your business, your state, there's a problem. We believe that the Republican Party is currently constituted has not offered a sufficient and compelling alternative to make people come out and vote. And we believe that is the economy. All of the surveys, all of the data back us up on that. It's the number one issue in our state. Okay. So the HALE Keys Economic Coalition, we are continuing to lobby on behalf of the people with regard to this affordability issue. Taxes need to be lowered. Two issues. Okay, taxation keeps businesses away from your state because there are plenty. We're adjacent to Delaware. All right, they got a much more favorable situation up there. Why would I come to Maryland? Right. The other thing is our gas and electric bills here in the state of Maryland. Guys, if you haven't done so, hit the thumbs up. I think all of you did, but I just have to say that. I have to get back into the groove. So in the state of Maryland, we have an electricity crisis. We import 42% of our power. We have a governor who is fixated on wind and solar. We only get 5.5% of our energy from that source. They've closed down all the coal-fired plants. Constellation Energy wants to put a third reactor at our Calvert Cliff nuclear power plant. The feds have said go for it. Our governor is holding that up. This lack of supply is what is driving these prices up, combined with an increase in demand. Have you guys, as a part of the campaign, I was invited out to Frederick, Maryland. That's one of the counties in Western Maryland, to talk to farmers about the devastation of that data centers have had on their land. Now, these data centers, they are consuming massive amounts of power. Frederick County has a plan to have more data centers. Harford County, Maryland, has banned them. One of the arguments from Frederick is that, well, data centers employ people. Yeah, initially they employ. Check out what I saw during the campaign. This was so helpful. So I'm up in Frederick. I'm talking to these farmers. And then the lady that's taking me around, she says, I want you to check this out. This is at the end of the day. We go to this like ridge that is overlooking this data center. And guys, this thing is massive. I mean, have you ever stood next? Let me know in the chat. Have you ever had this experience? Have you ever stood next to like a really massive construction project, be it a ship? Like I've seen an aircraft carrier up close, and it's like mind-boggling how big it is, right? I saw an aircraft carrier down in Norfolk, Virginia, and I watched a tractor trailer drive into that aircraft carrier. And I watched that same tractor trailer drive out, not back out, drive out, which meant somewhere in there, it was room enough for him to turn around. Okay. So, I actually worked off and on in New York back during the late 90s, early 2000s. And we had to go into the World Trade Center, one of the buildings in the, Twin Towers. And so we're out. They used to have this like dockside kind of restaurant. And we're out there one night and we're drinking and we're eating. And a buddy of mine said, you want to have a strange kind of sensation? Go in, stretch your arms out and lean up against the building. It's going to feel weird because the building is so massive. Okay. That's the feeling I got when I saw one of these data centers. I have a picture of it. Let me try to share that with you guys. So I'm going somewhere with this. So the data centers in Frederick, Maryland have wound up poisoning wells. They are eyesores. They emit a lot of lights and a lot of noise. Okay. They soak up a lot of power. As far as the jobs are concerned, okay. When we were overlooking this data center, we saw that this was a Friday evening, okay? And we saw buses labeled Dulles Airport coming to pick people up, and they were driving, folk in buses out of the data center. It was still under construction. Okay. Hold on, guys. Why did I do that? Okay, hold on. I'll play this for you. Okay, so it had Dulles on the side of the bus, which meant that they were taking these people to the airport. These weren't local people. It was the end of the week, and they were getting off, and they were flying them back home. These weren't local people with jobs, okay? Deb says, we have this mess in New Jersey with our governor being who she is. What's her name? Mickey Sherrill. I got you, Deb. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. So jobs are created. They're not local jobs. You're not finding a whole bunch of computer scientists and electrical engineers in Frederick County, Maryland. It is one of our western counties. It's not highly populated to begin with. Okay. They're shipping these people out. These are not local jobs that this thing is providing. Let me share with you. Hang with me here, guys. I'm going to share with you a video where I talked about this. I'm going off in another direction, but it's fine. Let's see. Let me share this tab. And can I increase the size of the screen? Let me see. Yeah. All right. All right. Now, guys, you should be able to hear this. Some things never change. I can't hear that. Hold on. I can't hear it, but I know how to fix it. All right, hold on, guys. Knock that down. Let's see. Oh, I feel good being back on here with you guys. I really do. All right, let's try that again. Massive scale of this thing. Okay. When it is turned up, this one's still under construction. It's going to need 167. Trust me, you do not want one of these data centers in your backyard. This is me in Frederick County, Maryland. This picture, standing in front of a data center, and even through this picture, there's no way you can tell the actual massive scale of this thing. Okay. When it is turned up, this one's still under construction. It's going to need 167 diesel generators. Can you imagine how deafening that will be to the surrounding neighbors? They're going to be tested, even if the power doesn't go out, they're going to be tested throughout the month, every month. Okay. You got light pollution, noise pollution, air pollution, groundwater contamination right here in Frederick, Maryland. This is what's going on. Now, there is a county in Maryland, Harford County, Maryland. They've said, no, the human cost of these things is just way too high. I mean, we know that you want to make your little AI Facebook post, but it's just too high of a cost. Frederick County, Maryland thinks differently. Let's look at what Harford County's approach has been, and we'll talk about the Frederick County approach. Okay, so Harford County is, these things are just proliferating throughout the county. And one of the reasons why is they're going up there and they're offering farmers, get this, guys, they're making these farmers an offer they literally can't refuse. $147,000 per acre. And I don't begrudge anyone who would take that at all. My house sits on 3.5 acres. Not enough for a data center. You add that 3.5 times 147,000. That's a lot of money, right? One farmer that I met with, he said, I'm not selling out, but I understand that I might be looking at being surrounded by these data centers. And I said to him, I said, let me ask you this. If the prospect of you not selling out means that you're going to be facing groundwater contamination, it's not going to be worth staying here at all. He was telling me that he has to get his animals tested now because if they're contaminated by drinking the water, then he can't do anything with that livestock, right? One woman that I met with, farmer also, her family they've been there forever, they're farmers. The data center is literally, and there are like 3 of them that we looked at. The data center is literally in her backyard. You step out, and they were supposed to do all of this stuff. Mailman's here, and I know she's going to want me to sign for something. I can't do it. They want you to do all of this stuff. Okay, well, the data centers, they're supposed to do all of this stuff where they will put up these berms so you can't see the data center. They're not doing it. You can clearly see the data center. The lights at night. It's like, imagine an airport almost, right? So listen, I saw a Facebook post about a week ago. A lady said, I'd rather have a data center in my backyard than a solar field. And I knew immediately, this payroll thing she wants us to sign for, we get it every month. It's not a big deal. Should just have to wait. I knew immediately when that lady said she'd rather have a data center in her backyard as opposed to a solar field. I knew she had never had any experience with a data center. She didn't know about data centers at all. Okay. So data centers, the technology, Elon Musk's talking about putting them in space. I've seen some designs to say they're going to put them underwater. Understand also that as a technology, it's going to shrink over time. So this massive data center that I'm standing out in front of on this picture, what the hell is that going to become when the technology is such that they don't need that anymore, right? After going in and devastating the groundwater and doing things like that. All right, so let's take a look at some comments, and then we'll get to this recession indicator that I was telling you about. Let's see here. Thanks, Deb. I really appreciate that. Alex says, Tyrone would be my financial host If I had a news channel, my news channel would have shows from people who lean left, center, and right. That would be a very profitable news channel. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Um, Deb says, who's actually pushing these takeovers for data center? Oh, AI. They've got a lot of money inside this AI industry. They're buying politicians. That's one of the things that we learned when we were running for offices. They were buying up politicians. Okay. Oh, no, it's not a threat to your groundwater. And we were showing them data. One of the lobbyists for the data centers, she said, oh, no, groundwater? No, they don't use a lot of groundwater. And so I did some research, right? And I found that the NSA has a data center out in Nevada. And they had to publish via Freedom of Information Act their water usage, okay? Because it's the NSA, but it's a government entity, right? They were using 1 million gallons of water a day, groundwater. So I presented that to the lobbyists. I said, wait a minute. So the NSA is using 1 million gallons of water a day in their data center. But you're telling me that these data centers around here, they don't do that? I said, that doesn't sound like it makes any sense to me whatsoever. But because she's on the payroll of the AI companies, oh man, I got such an education. I thought I was savvy, and I was to an extent, right? But and I was a lobbyist, right? But I don't know. And this is probably, guys, why I'm not a multimillionaire, is because I don't know about anybody else, but I got to be able to look myself in the mirror. And that's one of the things that Ed and I committed to early on. We said, day after election, no matter the outcome, we will maintain our integrity. And we have. Because we were in it for the right reasons, trying to help the people out. And we're still going to do that through the Hale Keys Economic Coalition. Deb, in terms of who is approving these data centers, locally, think about it. So they're handing out $147,000 an acre to farmers in Frederick. Think about what they're doing for local politicians out there who are susceptible to corruption, who are okay. And one of the farmers I met with, she said this. She said, they're selling out, our politicians are selling out the neighbors. Damn, she's not lying. They are. And now, guys, I heard my wife on the phone a few days ago. She was talking to a friend of hers, and she said, oh, no, Tyrone, as long as he has a good meal and an episode of Star Trek that he's seen for the 100th time, he's happy. You know what makes me happy, guys? Knowing that my family is doing well. Okay, I do not need a Lear jet. The next car I buy will be a they call it a Toyota Helix, but they call it something else in America. It's a technical. It's the pickup truck that the Taliban is always riding around in, and they do that for a reason, because it's durable and it's very easy to fix. The 2015 Toyota Helix is what I want for my next car. The new Corvette looks nice. I don't want that pavement, and I'm not going to Mars. The car looks like it's going to take off and go to space. I'm not into that. So I want to wax conspiratorial for a second here. I think people looked at Ed Hale and they said, well, he's already got tons of money. And then I think they looked at me and said, that guy has dress shirts he bought from JCPenney 10 years ago. And that is true. I wash them in Woolite, cold water, gentle cycle, and then I hang them up to dry. You keep it forever like that, right? The longer you keep something, the less expensive it becomes. Okay, I told you guys a story about me going into the Goodwill, and I found that nice Brooks Brothers navy blue blazer, gold buttons. It had a slight tear right under the lapel. I showed it to the lady at Goodwill and I said, ma'am, this is $7. It fit me perfectly too. It was like my mind told me to go into Goodwill that day for a reason. And I said, ma'am, I want to know if I can get money off because I got to get that fixed. I got to take it to the tailor. That lady looked at me and said, sir, you are at Goodwill. We don't do discounts. Okay. All right. I had to ask. I bought it, took it right to my tailor. Week later, she fixed it up. I wore it on the campaign trail. People were like, wow, that is a nice blazer. That's me. Okay. So I think folk looked at that and said, these two are going to be a problem. They're not going to play the game. Okay. Because we had already we'd already told people we're not having an inaugural ball. We're not going to do that because it's a waste of money. We're going to go to bed that night and then we're going to get up in the morning and start working. We could have gotten the 30% of Democrats that you need in Maryland in order to win. This is the mix. If you're a Republican, you need 90% of the Republicans. You need 30% of Democrats and 60% of independents. We could have done that. And at the last minute, you know what Westmore did? He put out a mailer on the guy who ultimately was successful getting a Republican nomination. He put out a mailer on this guy's behalf saying, oh, this is the real MAGA candidate, because he wanted to face that guy. He didn't want to face us. So very interesting experience. Let's see. Yeah, noise, continuous noise, Jose. Good to see you, by the way. Continuous noise and light pollution also. It's a bad situation for people. If they're talking about one of these things coming to your neighborhood, fight it tooth and nail. And people will say, "Oh, well, the Chinese." Screw the Chinese. All right, that's just a trope that's being advanced by industry to get you to buy into something that could destroy your property value. Well, we got to beat the Chinese. Figure out another way to beat the Chinese at the AI game. Okay? There's America, if you look at a map of America at night, there's plenty of places where nobody lives. All right? You guys literally have market caps. These companies, some of them have trillion-dollar market caps. Okay? You got the money to make it work somewhere other than my neighborhood. Damn the Chinese. All right, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. Hey, LJ. It's good to see you, LJ. LJ says, New World Order globalists have been using corporations for decades to do their will. You're absolutely right. And that's why that's an NWO trope, that whole, well, you can't let the Chinese beat you. Sacrifice your groundwater and your property value for the better good while we get rich. No, thank you. No, thank you. LJ says, we in Southern Nevada are pushing back on 2 planned in my county. So far, government here is listening. Good, good, good. I'm telling you guys, I've seen this up close. It is horrible. I feel so bad for the people. And I told a lady, because one farmer, we walked up on his property, and he recognized me from the news, and he said, I'm not voting for you, and I'm not voting for Ed Hale. I said, okay, well, that certainly is your right, sir. But I would like to ask you if I could just speak to you about what you're experiencing with the data center issue. We stood out there for like 90 minutes and he was showing me, some of the impact. And he said, well, what do you all plan to do about this? I said, well, sir, I'm never going to lie to you. And I'm not going to make you believe that we can do anything about a data center that currently exists. Yes, I understand, right here in your backyard. We can't make that disappear. And I'm not going to try to blow smoke for a vote. I said, but with the information that you're giving me, I do believe that it could help us set a policy that would prevent others from experiencing what has happened to you. Said that's all I can say. And I elaborated on one of the policies that we were looking at, which was to you got to go in and hold these data centers accountable regularly. Okay, regularly. They have to have quarterly inspections to make sure that they are not poisoning the groundwater, that they are not poisoning the air. And one trick that they're doing up in Frederick is the companies are locating these air quality indicators. They're supposed to be in very close proximity to schools, but they're not. So all of these little tricks that they're playing, this needs to be codified into law that we have a set of standards. These standards, if violated, will result in fines like you've never, ever even imagined. Why so high? Well, first of all, they have it. Second of all, a company will do things and say, $10,000 fine, that's nothing. We can do it all day. But if you come in and say, yeah, if the air quality in these areas, let's take the groundwater. Groundwater has a certain amount of particulates, contaminants. Then you have to not only remediate that immediately, but you face a $1 billion with a B dollar fine. Take that back to your shareholders and explain that to them. A $1 billion fine. Well, we got to make these property owners whole. Okay, that will dissuade these data center operators from running roughshod over these communities. And LJ, I'm telling you, next time you guys meet, show them this video or tell them to call me, because that is exactly what these companies are doing. They're running roughshod over communities. That's why the Harford County has banned them. Let's see. All right. Deb says, Elon has been very vocal lately on AI and the future both being good and terrifying. Yeah. I put some videos, a video up, kind of, in some form of fashion. You got to embrace technology, right? You can't be a Luddite. You can't say, I worked without a computer all my life. I don't need one of those things, because you're going to fall behind, right? So there are things that AI can do to increase productivity. All right. And many people say, I've been asked this question. Well, if you use AI, doesn't that mean you're okay with data centers? I never said I wasn't okay with data centers. I am not okay with the location of data centers and their interference in property values and quality of life. Okay. Just like I drive a car, right? I do not want an automobile manufacturing plant in my neighborhood. All right. The logic people use sometimes is incredible. I use electricity. I do not want a nuclear cooling tower 6 blocks away from me. Okay. Yes. NIMBY, not in my backyard. Yeah. You guys have trillions of dollars. You say that you're so smart because you invented AI. Figure it out. Yeah, you might have to put it in some area. And even if you do put it in some area that is not populated, you should still be subject to the set of standards that I talked about earlier. Okay. LJ says you have to attend city and county planning meetings. Otherwise, don't complain. We flooded our meetings with angry citizens. Good. And you're right. If you don't attend those meetings and know what's going on, you'll wake up and you'll be very surprised with what goes on in your neighborhood. All right. So look, guys, GDP. I had this story on tap for you. This is a funny story, and it is good news. And we do want to focus on good news. Chicken wing prices are down. Okay, that's good news. Who can hate that? Well, unless you're a chicken, this is great news, right? So run out and get yourself some chicken wings. They freeze well. All right. Who knows? The next crisis that comes up, COVID depleted toilet paper stores, right? The next crisis, the people could deplete chicken wings. So stock up on them while they're cheap. The U.S. economy slowed to 1.5% growth in the second quarter, while inflation ticked up a bit to 3.3%. All right, so economic activity decelerated a little bit. And remember, when we talk about inflation, we're talking about inflation on top of inflation. We got to look at it cumulatively over the course of a year. GDP rose at just 1.5% in the first quarter. All right. And no, they mean the second quarter, I believe. Hold on. I don't think that number it wasn't great in the first quarter, I don't think. Okay, right. Okay. Economists surveyed by Dow Jones, the experts, had been looking for a growth rate of 1.8%, following the 2.1% increase in the first quarter. So we see deceleration here from 2.1% to 1.5%. Keep in mind that a recession has classically been defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. All right. Now I want to focus on the positive in this. I don't want to look at it from the standpoint of, the sky is falling. There are some things that happen when the economy slows that can serve as advantages for us. One of those things is that certain companies do better when the economy slows, and certain companies do worse. Now, if we're always looking at an opportunity to buy low, we want to identify those companies that people back away from when the economy slows. So you're talking about, disposable stuff you spend disposable income on. When you tighten the belt, you might not go out there and buy the flashiest clothing. That might impact certain department stores. It might impact Amazon. Okay. But Amazon, they've proven themselves to be kind of not recession proof, but they're savvy as hell in terms of value. Okay. Kohl's, for example. Kohl's might do better because Kohl's is selling discounted stuff. Nike might do worse because they're a premium brand. So depending on what they do in a recession or as the economy slows, it might present an opportunity to take a look at their stock. Okay. Now, I know most people today, and I'm not a trader. I've discussed this with you guys many times. I don't get into trading stocks back and forth, high velocity. I'm not a supercomputer. It doesn't work long term for individuals. I'm an investor. So I buy something and I hold on to it through thick and thin. And usually that works just fine. Another way to do it is by buying an index fund, S&P 500 index fund, set it and forget it. If you wake up in the S&P, something happens to 500 companies in the S&P 500, we got bigger worries than the stock market. Okay. We are talking global reset. The moon has broken its orbit and is heading our way type of thing. Okay. Stocks don't matter anymore. So the S&P 500, as you know, is an index comprised of 500 of the pretty much the biggest companies in the world. Okay. For the most part. It's not just American companies on there. There's some foreign companies on there as well. For the most part, the biggest companies in the world. So now may be the time as the economy starts to, looks like it's slowing a little bit. Maybe there's some nervousness around the midterms. Inflation is ticking up, which is not good. That also slows spending. People tend to spend on the essentials as prices go up. I got a chuck roast in the freezer right now. And I was asking my wife doesn't like the tacos with the shredded beef. It's a 3-pound chuck roast. I'm like, I'm not going to cook that just for me. I'm going to hold on to that. Okay. Because we don't waste food around here. People are making decisions. Okay. And then you also have to take into account, and I'm going to wrap this up in a minute, guys, but I want to show you this. Guys, I cannot stress to you enough. Take this debt situation that we have in this country seriously. Now, here we are. You might as well say $40 trillion is what we owe. Okay? $39.7 trillion. Taxes are going to go up at some point at the federal level. All right? And you're seeing taxes go up at the state level in some states, like Maryland. They may not be going up at a state level, but at a local level, because the states are saying we don't have the money. You know, Maryland has to have a balanced budget. We don't have the money, so they're pushing things down to the local level. Okay. You're going to see fewer services. This national debt is a problem, because I'm telling you right now, if you go into your retirement years and you don't plan for increased taxation, that retirement could look a lot different than you thought it would. Now, how do you do that? Well, you got to leverage vehicles that allow you to take after-tax dollars today and build up tax-exempt monies on the back end. Okay. Why do you want to pay the tax today? Because right now we're at a relatively low level of taxation historically right now. Okay. So always keep that in mind, guys. Always keep that in mind. Richard, man, I'm glad to see all of you guys. I really am. And I thank you for noticing that the stream is up and coming back in. Amazon makes vastly more money from Amazon World Services, their web services, than they do from retail. True. Man, these guys like Jeff Bezos, he's the new Sears and Roebuck, but like you said, on a much bigger level. Elon Musk is the new Howard Hughes, on a order of magnitude bigger. LJ says their ad, Amazon. I did see an ad for Amazon Web Service. I was watching an episode of Star Trek on Pluto TV, classic episode of Star Trek, not this new crap. I saw that ad on Pluto TV for Amazon World Services, and I asked my wife. I said, "That's interesting. I'd never seen an advertisement for them before, right?" Amazon Web Services offers reliable, scalable, and inexpensive cloud computing services. Free to join, pay only for what you use. I can't stand Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos with the bald head, he reminds me of Lex Luthor now. Like he's a corporate supervillain. Diesel's $5.50. Okay. Wow. Now up in New Jersey, Deb, do they still give full service? New Jersey, I think, is the last standout for full service. Let's see. Yes. Chili with cranberry is delicious. I won't rule it out. I have to try it sometime. Okay. So LJ verifies what I'm saying in terms of that retirement income. LJ says Tyrone is 100% correct. I didn't account for those extra taxes until recently in my budgeting. Yeah, man, that's why Florida and Texas have so many people flocking to the state. Florida, especially because of the way they treat retirement income. They don't tax it. So, guys, I am very happy to be back with you. You've noticed on the channel that we're taking a much more focused approach on finance, even if we talk about things like Malcolm Jamal Warner, the guy that played Theo Huxtable on the Cosby Show, unfortunately drowned and didn't prepare properly. Now his wife is in this back and forth with his mother about insurance and how we're going to take care of the kid. And it's bad, man. It's bad. It's unfortunate. But we're taking a hard look at the economy. I've got a series that I did on the channel, guys, about navigating this economy at 50 and older. I have a lot of people I know, unfortunately, all of them over 50. I know 4 people that have been laid off over 50. And so I put that series together, navigating this economy over 50. Send that. I put it in a playlist. It's got its own playlist. Send that to someone who you believe will benefit from that, because folk are out here and things are getting interesting. I firmly believe that now. Oh, what can I? Come on now. I firmly believe that we're at a point in our history where there's more opportunity than ever before. I also believe that navigating is more challenging than before. Okay. I'm trying to get this link to the playlist, but it's not, whatever reason, it's not cooperating, which is weird. Anyway, it's under the playlist section of the channel. Oh, here it is. Dang, I had it. Hold on. I want to put it in the chat. I had it. Where'd it go? YouTube's doing something funny here. All right. Well, I will put it in the community section. It's the YouTube's not cooperating with me right now. In any event, financial survival after 50. Okay. That is a series we did. I want you guys to check it out. Send it to somebody who you think will help them out. All right. All right, guys. So make your chili, add 1 whole cranberry. Okay. I'm going to try that, Deb. I'm going to try it. All right. I'm not going to tell my wife I did that because she has preconceived notions about food, and I don't want to. I'll tell her afterward. Okay. And I always know if she likes something because she quietly goes and gets a second plate. Speaking of chili, I cooked this chili with just using chilies. Okay. It's a recipe by Meat Church. Meat Church is the channel on YouTube. Man, it is out of this world. Okay, guys. Well, check out some of the other content we have on the uploads. I really appreciate you guys joining. Hit that like or thumbs up before you leave, please. And I will be back at you. Probably going to do a live stream tomorrow, guys. You will see the announcement. Y'all take it easy, and I will talk to you very soon.